After hours parking garage, ramp D, promise on the pay stub. The garage after midnight keeps its breath the way a guilty city does, measured, echoing, unwilling to start the conversation. Fluorescents make honest enemies of shadows. Ticket gates blink a patient green. I signed the overnight log with a pen that made me briefly honest and slid my phone into my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home. Somewhere a fan hummed like a verdict, and the air smelled faintly of rubber, rain, and promises that learned to idle. Back home, Weez had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that means, "Please stay now." Our couch knows the choreography for turning love into litigation. I left before we started performing the parts we hate. On the stairwell, my screen lit with a message from Jay. Julio in my contacts, Jay in the way I label hazards to make them smaller. Ramp D, top turn, just talk. Roofs forgive nobody in daylight, ramps pretend they will. By day, I fix other people's paragraphs. By night, I try not to turn my own into weapons. Weez and I have a code that works when we remember it. T means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't go far. Julio drifted back into orbit 2 months ago wearing a supervisor's vest like a dare and a laugh that sounded like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. He was already at the bend where ramp D peels into the open top deck, collar open, sleeves rolled, the night and the city splitting down his shoulders like a trick with two exits. He held a pay stub folded into thirds and a grease pencil like a confession he'd rehearsed. "You came," he said, "and grown men persist in pretending arrival is news." "I came to return something," I said. "My vest, your good sense." "Your name," I said. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He leaned one hip against the low concrete wall and set the pay stub on it like a cheap altar. "3 words," he said, offering the pencil. "Why are you here?" 3 words is cruel. That's why they work. He tilted his head toward the wet city like it might hold us accountable. The ramp hates speeches. It jams. I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I hadn't decided to light, touch before arguing. He read the graphite as if it had tone and didn't exhale for a heartbeat longer than he should have. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered near my lapel the way a match hovers near its training, then fell to his side as if we were already being graded. "Does he know?" Julio asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. The fan under the eaves groaned back to life. A car nose glided past the far edge, tail lights making a short sentence and leaving. Julio stepped into my weather, heat arriving before hands do when men are trying to be better than the reasons that brought them. "Tell me no," he said softly. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like peppermint and a plan he wasn't going to apologize for. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that knows it wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the one I've learned not to hate in the dark. We didn't rush. Ramps prefer accurate turns. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the line under his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and paused flat on my chest like an oath. "Do you swear?" And then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of a man who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled into my mouth a truth nobody paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him, and we stayed quiet because concrete prefers prose. The rain pretended not to know us and probably succeeded. "We already cheated," he said later, while breath negotiated its hours. We cheated when we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home. I know, I said. He slid the pay stub into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness and let his thumb trace my wrist once before choosing not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. I booked a room, he said, not triumphant. Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at a window and not touch for 60 seconds just to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest. I'm tired of being clever, I said. Clever's a night shift, he said. Accurate is a morning one. We stood with the city running its small errands around us, neither of us asking the other to stop being the problem. Giulio took a small magnet from his vest, the freebie kind shaped like a parking ticket, and pressed it into my palm. For your fridge, he said. Cold helps letters behave. Text me a weather report in the morning, he added. Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons. It usually does, I said, when we let it. We parted like men who understood the job description of distance. The elevator down smelled like rain and rubber and something trying to become forgiveness. Outside the garage, the crosswalk gave me time. I took it. The apartment offered its square of kitchen light and the fridge's patient hum. We sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people who are about to fix things. He didn't ask where I'd been. He turned his head toward the place beside him. I sat. Do you want to be asked? He said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. Please, I said, because prompts are the scaffolding of my better self. Are you lonely? Some nights, I said. Not here, not when you ask first, not when the kettle outruns the reasons. I took his wrist and placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to make sure I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and believed me. I feel useful, he said. I want to be wanted before I'm useful. Tonight's procedure, I said. Touch first, argue second, report later. The kettle clicked like a stamp in a country that still believes in mail. He stood and poured water over mint. We named it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the pay stub beneath the ticket magnet so proud at breakfast faced the room. We's read the words and his mouth did the smaller, braver thing. He picked up the dry erase marker and wrote beneath the magnet, Tomorrow, keep the torque. He didn't grin. He assembled himself and the sentence into a morning. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says ramp D and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. We agree to 5 words when 5 are enough. We stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. We try to want what we promised, and when we don't, we write 3 words on small paper and tell the room we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The stub in my pocket learns the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late bus, I draft messages to no one that begin I didn't ask because I thought that counted as kindness and end may your breakfast go right. I don't send them. The not sending feels like a skill borrowed from concrete that keeps its temper when you treat it correctly. A week later, afternoon tries to be a test. I walk through the garage and buy nothing. I leave a bottle of water near the attendant booth with a note, for whoever is waiting for a sister. The night guard nods like a bridge that is held and will hold again. On my way home, I slip a blank pay envelope into my pocket and write turn toward your name across the clean side. I don't light anything. That night we eat toast like it has been newly invented. We fail and fail differently and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand at a concrete rail pretending to know which level will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. And when we say tomorrow out loud, It means only what we let it mean.